Our health journey began when we decided to remove processed sugars when you were diagnosed with prediabetes.
Guys, we got into a fight, okay? We have to be honest here.
What if we're, feeding our kids paleo and then it turns out to be terrible for their health?
It was hard in the beginning, but then, I slowly learned.
And then I think I went to Paleo FX or something, and I came back with the revelation that paleo is not good enough. Keto is where it's at. We need to cut out all the carbs.
And now looking back, we had stomach issues.
Yeah.
Our son had stomach issues. And I think it was because we were giving them almond flour, for example.
But in my defense, I have to say, after the paleo and keto fiasco, I had learned my lesson a little bit, and so I approached the potential transition or my interest in carnivore a little bit differently.
You're listening to the Primal Shift Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kummer, and my goal is to help you achieve optimal health by bridging the gap between ancestral living and the demands of modern society. Get ready to unlock the transformative power of nature as the ultimate biohack, revolutionizing your health and reconnecting you with your primal self.
My goal with the Primal Shift Podcast is to show you how to achieve optimal health, and that includes the health of your body's largest organ, your skin. Today's sponsor, OneSkin, has a line of topical supplements powered by the OS01 peptide. It's the first ingredient scientifically proven to reduce the accumulation of senescent cells. That's one of the hallmark signs of aging. And for a limited time, my listeners will get 15% off their first OneSkin purchase with code MKUMMER at oneskin.co. That's oneskin.co. And now back to the episode. Adopting a healthy lifestyle really challenged our marriage and our relationship. And in this episode, we're going to talk about some of those challenges and why adopting a healthy lifestyle sounds so easy on paper. And when you hear someone else say it, but there are real life consequences to doing certain things and doing things differently that can really put a strain on your relationship. And so in today's episode, I invited my wife, Kathy, back because she loves being in front of a camera. And we're going to talk about some of those challenges that we have faced over the years, how we've overcome them, and what our strategy is now moving forward with potentially implementing new stuff that we don't even know about is good for us, right? Yes. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's fun, being here with you and chat a little bit about all those changes and, things that we have done over the years.
Yes. And maybe let's start, just to set the stage. Our health journey began when we decided to remove processed sugars when you were diagnosed with prediabetes. That was back in the days when we were still boyfriend and girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And we both embraced the change. We removed added sugars, products with added sugars and stuff. And everything was good. But then one day, I remember, and I'm sure you do, I woke up and I decided we got to do paleo. Well, I got to do paleo. Paleo is the holy grail of nutrition. And starting today, I'm going to do paleo. And of course, I was not the one preparing food. Usually, there was you.
Yeah, of course, like a good Latina, I like to feed my people.
Uh-huh. And so how did you respond to your husband saying, we're going to change from a, standard American diet? It wasn't a terrible, terrible diet, but it was very close to it back in the days. Yeah. To doing something entirely different, cutting out entire food groups. How did that make you feel?
Oh, gosh. I remember, guys, we got into a fight. Okay. We have to be honest here. We got into a fight because for me, it was removing my Latina, love of cooking and feeding my family. So I remember we were traveling with your mom. Mm-hmm. And we got into this huge fight about that because I'm like, well, what does paleo mean? Like, what are we doing? And he said, removing beans, rice. So basically a gallo pinto, a traditional dish from Costa Rica. Removing, what else? Lentils I used to cook a lot. No more burgers,
All grains.
Dairy. I never consume a lot of dairy, but
the grains part, grains and legumes was tough for you.
Yes. So, in my culture, that's something that we eat often, and for me, like a lentil soup on a rainy day, removing that was it didn't sound right to me. And I was more like a cultural thing and not really understanding, the nutrition part.
And it was also at the same time because, both of us really had very little understanding of human metabolism and all. And so you also raised the concern, but what if, just because someone's saying that paleo is how you should be eating, what if you're wrong? Or what if that person is wrong? What if we are wrong? What if we are, feeding our kids paleo and then it turns out to be terrible for their health?
Yes.
Right? That was also
just like your mom, when she heard our conversation, she was like, what is going to happen? What about if you're wrong? And so it was hard. It was hard to make the change. And also I have to admit that my personality doesn't allow, or I just don't do very well with changes. And mostly you're very good at it. You decide to do something and you just go tomorrow or in the next 5 minutes and you will do it. For me, I'm like very slow learner and I like to take my time. So that was like, no, we're not doing this. And it took me a few months, we went through our pantry, processed food was out of, our pantry. We were eating for the first few months, we were eating just a piece of steak with vegetables or a salad.
And funny enough, it was, now thinking back, it was a lot of the, I guess, veggies that are some of the least toxic ones, I guess, like zucchini. We did a lot.
We did
right?
a lot of zucchini.
Cucumbers.
We were grilling a lot.
Yeah, it was grilled zucchini and steak.
Yes.
That was for us paleo.
Yes.
Right? And the one change that I noticed almost immediately was my IBS, my irritable bowel syndrome, which I had for decades, was gone like this. And it was gone because of, we removed all the trigger foods, basically, that we were not supposed to be eating anyway. But then along the lines, you learned more about, paleo, you can actually make traditional dishes paleo friendly. And we got cookbooks and...
Yeah, I went through all the paleo books and, I purchased the books from Daniel Walker and those were my holy grail. I went through 4 books of her, did all the recipes pretty much. Even for the kids, for Halloween, we were making... chocolate chip cookie, but with a spider. I would make it with melted chocolate, a spider. And so I needed to still feel connected with food, like in a way that to keep traditions, in our family. And it was hard in the beginning, but then, I slowly learned and preparing food differently.
Yeah, and then we thought, you thought, we're all good, we are settled. Life is good. We are on this paleo train now. We have it figured out. We know how to cook, what to cook. And then I think I went to Paleo FX or something, and I came back with the revelation that paleo is not good enough. Keto is where it's at. We need to cut out all the carbs. Not just, the highly processed ones, but, everything, and honey, maple syrup, all of the things that you used for baking, all of that has to go. And that was the second time when we're like, we are not on the same page, because I was convinced that keto is where we, carbs are bad. Carbs are going to kill us, and so we need to do keto. We need to be in ketosis in order to enjoy optimal health. And
so again, we went through another transition. I was the one who was cooking. So I had to come up with keto rolls, keto... I don't know, a lot of recipes I had to look up and, go through, all that again.
Yeah.
Getting stevia, monk fruit, how do you say that word? Familiarize, myself with other types of, sweeteners, almond flour, coconut flour.
Oh, well, that's okay. But almond flour. And that was actually...
back then, we're like, no, we're good. We don't have any issues. And now looking back, we had stomach issues.
Yeah.
Our son had stomach issues. And I think it was because we were giving them, almond flour, for example.
Well,
or
almond
little
milk.
one. Almond milk. So all that. And looking back, we had stomach issues.
Yes.
Now we don't have all that.
Right. And so keto, we figured out, well, you really gotta, because keto got to a point, commercially as well as, within our family, I think, where you can do a lot of things keto just because they're low carb doesn't necessarily mean they're healthy. You can, cook in seed oils and eat the cheapest bacon you can find, and it's keto, but it's not good for your health, And so we kind of made the transition back a little bit to a Paleolithic ketogenic diet.
Yes.
To focus more on ingredient quality.
Yes.
While
I was
still
cooking
being
a lot with ghee, which is clarified butter, and we were doing well with that.
Yeah.
I liked it. I was also cooking, since paleo allows bacon, I was cooking a lot with bacon and keto too. Mm-hmm. So the bacon fat I would, save, and then I would cook the eggs the next morning with that. So yeah, that I feel like the seed oils were long gone, for
us they were, yeah. We cut them out pretty early, that's true. Even I think during the paleo phase, I think there were some like sesame oil or whatever we might have used, but after that, we pretty much transitioned to animal fats.
Yeah, we were,
Mm-hmm. And then carnivore came along, but in my defense, I have to say, after the paleo and keto fiasco, I had learned my lesson a little bit, and so I approached the potential transition, or my interest in carnivore a little bit differently. So with carnivore, I said, don't worry, we're not gonna do carnivore, but I'd like to try it out for 30, 60 days, what have you. And I did, and I realized it's great. It's a great, I think, tool for me, maybe to, if you want to reset your gut, if you're dealing with something, if you want to, do something good for you to boost your vitality, what have you. But going back to a more animal-based diet that can include seasonal sweet fruits, the least toxic plants, and also learning at the same time how to process. And by that I don't mean, buying processed food in the store, but to ferment, soak, sprout, heat, do all of those things that humans have learned on how to mitigate some of the toxins in food while making the nutrients more bioavailable, especially in the plant world. You don't really have to do much with animals. But by incorporating those, we are now on a fairly, I want to say, comparatively speaking, relaxed diet, but we feel better than we've ever felt. And we kind of know, what we can get away with, what we can do, what we cannot do to maintain health that's as optimal, I think, as reasonably possible.
Yes. And I have to point out that you now have, again, a different approach. It's not like, Kathy, I'm doing this, and, you can join me or not. You're more like caring, of what, how I'm going to react. At the same time, I've been following, other influencers, other people in social media where I get my information, and it's not only on you.
Right.
Because I feel like, if it is your spouse who's, coming to tell you that, you're more like, But when it's somebody else, and then you're like, well, but my husband has been saying that, and then I connect the dots, it's just slow for me, I have to hear it from somebody else and not just you. And I'm not saying this in a mean or disrespectful way. It's just how I, try to see things.
And it's good to always, check and verify, because we all live in our echo, chamber, in our bubble, where we kind of, hear people say things we already know to reconfirm what we think is true. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's good to get, a different perspective from someone you trust, be it a spouse or, another influencer or someone you follow, that you trust. And then kind of, figure out, okay, I thought A, but that person said B, and I trust what the person is saying. So how does that match up? And what can we get out of, all of those opinions to do something that makes sense for us?
Like one good example where I was having doubts, for me was the cold plunge. I'm like, I can't do a 33-degree, cold plunge. Like I tried once. It was very, very hard for me to do and finish it. Actually, I didn't stay in for
the rescue.
10 seconds, and I was out. And then I started reading this book, and then I started asking myself, like, it can't be right that a woman can do that temperature. And I came to you after I read, and then, it popped in my feed and, my Instagram feed and stuff. And I told you, Mike, I think we have to increase the temperature of the cold plunge for me to be able to do it. Apparently, women don't tolerate cold as easily as you, man. And that's when, now we have 2 cold plunge, that are, or ice baths, that are different temperatures. But you were listening to me, like, here is the facts, women can't tolerate cold, like you do. And so you were open to listen, and then we adjust, But that was a good example where I take my time, and I knew at that point that I'm like, no, I mean, I can do 33 degree.
Mm-hmm. From what would you say is the biggest challenge in living a somewhat healthy lifestyle in our modern society? Why is not everyone doing it? It's simple on paper, eat well, sleep well, exercise. It's very simple, but it's not easy. Why do you think that is?
Well, if you think about it, now you have to go to an office from 9 to 5, and you are in an enclosure, women are looking for careers, success. We also want to bring something to the house. I think, I think everything and all the little things add up.
Do you think that it's inconvenient, or how much effort is it on a daily basis? If you go to a restaurant, and you want to eat out, if you, take the kids to a birthday party and they serve food that, you don't agree with,
Well, you want to go to the easy route. That would be like, let's just eat whatever. Many people don't think about, what are you putting in your body? It's just following, like, you don't want to be the odd one out,
right.
Like you want to just be like everybody else. You don't want to be different. Right. And also, being comfortable. Why doing something uncomfortable? Why, cooking a whole meal when I can just order out?
Right.
Have it delivered in the,
Right.
It's just the convenience. I think that's the biggest change, I think, in society. It's just comfortable.
Yeah. I think it's most people are not comfortable being uncomfortable, and they don't want to be, I don't say that they don't want to be challenged, because, if you look at some professionals that work, 80 hours a week, they certainly, that's not easy, But in many other cases, or in many other areas of life, people just don't want to feel the discomfort. They just want to do what everyone else is doing without thinking of whether or not.
It's so much easier to pack a lunch for school for the kids with all those Lunchables.
Right.
Just go to, Walmart or anywhere, just grab the little packages, put them in the lunchbox, and you're done.
Uh-huh.
When I did the lunch boxes for our kids, I had to use the leftovers from dinner, or cook a whole new meal, to be able, and then thinking about how I'm going to keep it cool.
Right.
Like, it's not as
warm.
easy. Or warm. Yeah. It's not as easy. And people have a hard time doing the extra work, because I think that's what it is.
Right.
The extra work. And now people are really busy with so many other things. If you think about it, nobody lives in a more slow
paced environment.
Yeah. Simple. Doesn't have to be so complicated.
So between diet, sleep, like going to bed early, what we do, exercise, removing xenoestrogens from personal care products, from food storage containers.
Yeah.
What else do we do? Generally, reducing EMFs. From all of the things that we have done and that we are doing, what is the most challenging for you think?
Oh gosh. That's a really tough one. I think it was, okay, I'm going to start with the fun part. changing all the containers from plastic to, I had to go to Amazon and, check, what's out there in glass, new makeup, all those things are kind of like fun.
But also expensive.
They're very expensive. So I didn't do everything in one shot. We didn't do it.
No.
But I think food for me is the hardest change. What else? What do you think?
That's a good question. I mean, incredibly difficult. I think maybe for me, the convenience of knowing if I go out and if we eat out, it's always going to be way below what we would normally do at home. That realization that we can't really go out and enjoy a meal that meets our standards, knowing that is like, meh,
Yes.
Because I wish.
Exactly. That's why I think it's the hardest food. Yeah. When you go to a party, then your friends want to do a birthday party, and then you have to go and eat out, and you'll always get criticized or point at, that you are, now you're not going to eat the carbs, or you're not going to do this and that, I loosen up a little bit when I go out with my friends or when I go somewhere. But it's still within that frame, right?
Right.
So I think food for me is the hardest. When I go visit family, or like it adds a stress, in my life, and it shouldn't though.
I think leaving home generally, leaving our protective bubble where we have everything figured out, like going on a trip. Okay, now we check in an Airbnb. We have to ask, hey, can you remove all the air fresheners? We don't want to have any, fragrances in the air that are, estrogenic. We want to have down pillows instead of synthetic pillows. Are the linens, is that, organic cotton or?
But hotels, they accommodate.
They a lot of, accommodate. Or going then to a restaurant, hey, can you use butter instead of a seed oil, to cook? Or, all of those things that you have to kind of arrange. I almost feel like sometimes, it's like us leaving the house is like, when the president travels to another country, you almost have to send, like a team, ahead and make sure everything is set before you arrive,
By the way.
Yeah. All right. Next and last big topic we wanna cover in this episode is growing your own food, because that's been, I think, the biggest transition in the last few years from us, to go from making proper food choices when we buy it to saying, okay, you know what? What's in the store, what's available around us doesn't really cut it. We want to be in control of our own food supply. And so that means growing food, like, the animals you might or might not see in the back, eggs, meat, honey, etc., vegetables to a degree. Why did you decide, or agree at least, to do that? What was the driver for you to say, let's give this a try, let's try this out?
Mostly with fruits, like the raspberries and strawberries, is so rewarding. And also because they are very easy to grow, and then you have this big reward. It's, like I accomplished something. You check that box, of this is fun and it's easy. It doesn't have to take a lot of space. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. We've been doing like a trial and error, some not vegetables, but, our fruit trees. They're being hard to, like maintain and, like fertilize and to keep up. And there's this bugs, and then the animals eat them. And like, it's been really challenging, but we still want to try. And, that's the cool thing, about homesteading. You still want to try. You still want to see, no, I can do this. So I think it has like a reward, like in a good way, where here I put an effort and this is what is giving me back.
Right.
And having, like the strawberries out there and the kids can pick and eat them. We go, pick the raspberries and the kids are just eating them from I love that. I don't want to, you cannot do that in the supermarket.
No, but and you mentioned, mostly plant-based stuff, which, we obviously grow as well, but...
Well, raspberries, strawberries.
Right. Would you say it's easier to grow plants or to grow animals or to raise animals for food?
It's easier, the animals. What?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, generally, I would agree. And I wanted to make that point because, yes, it is easy, to grow raspberries, to grow strawberries, what have you. But also the nutrients and especially the calories, the energy you get out of those foods is relatively small, right?
Right.
If you, raise chickens, the eggs, we got 27 eggs a day.
Yes.
That's a lot of nutrients. Very, bioavailable, readily absorbable nutrients, and also a good amount of calories, right, from an energetic perspective.
Yeah, and I was about to say, that's with the animals is the same. You have the chickens, the layers, and then you just go and grab,
right,
the eggs, and maybe have a snake waiting for you in there.
Yeah.
But it's always rewarding. The kids love the animals, and it's not so difficult to have the laying.
No, but also let's not romanticize, because I think everyone is under the impression, you watch, some homestead on YouTube and everything seems so easy and so, much fun.
No.
It is everything combined, end to end.
That's why you do the morning chores.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of sleep.
That's right. It's responsibility. It's not that, maybe with, if your raspberries are not in season, you can go on vacation.
It is, exactly. Traveling with, having all these animals, it's been a challenge, to leave them. You don't know what is going to happen, how the farm sitter is going to do. It's not as easy. Yes, definitely. You can leave the raspberries and the birds and the deer might eat them.
Right, but
fine.
You cannot leave the chickens unattended or whatever, the rabbits.
Yeah. We just came back from traveling and we lost one of our roosters. Mm-hmm. So it's not easy.
No.
But it's really rewarding. Like just, growing raspberries is rewarding to just go and get the eggs.
And I think, and that kind of, goes hand in hand. A lot of people say, groceries are so expensive, especially high quality ones. And I know what we are spending on.
We had that conversation. I came once from the grocery store and I was like, Mike, I can't believe how much I'm spending.
We're spending in a week that others, back in the days you would have, I don't want to say back in the days because obviously inflation.
Well, inflation, yeah.
But still there are families that probably have a monthly grocery budget that is our weekly, and they, they couldn't do what we do in terms of, but here, first of all, I think healthy food appears to be significantly more expensive, but I think a main point or a main factor is that all the crop food, the monocrops, the soy, the corn, it gets subsidized, so we don't really pay the true cost of those foods and all the processed foods made from those, ingredients and products. Because we, with our tax dollars, subsidize at the end of the day, corn being grown and potentially being destroyed because we have too much to keep the prices, where they are. And so, that doesn't happen for, grass-fed, grass-finished meat, and so that skews already the picture a little bit. But then on the other hand, I think we've also got accustomed to paying next to nothing for food or food-like substances, for all of that crap that we, used to eat. It was dirt cheap, but it wasn't really food, and it makes you healthy and you pay for it in the long run. And so you really have to, I think, reprioritize or rebudget, your groceries and make sure, you're spending, because food is one of the most important things besides housing and, maybe, clothing and those things that we need to live. It's not a nice to have. It's a, have to have.
Yes.
A car, on the other hand, is probably, or a nice car in particular, is a nice to have, So if you see where you spend the money, I think more of that money should go towards, proper food, and, healthy housing, and all of those things.
And again, when I came to you and I was like really, in shock of how much I spend, just going to the grocery store. I remember, I think that's the time that we decided to do the meat birds.
Yes.
Because I wanted to eat chicken, and just to switch it up a little bit. And even for the kids, our youngest, he has a hard time eating red meat, constantly, like every day. Mm-hmm. Our daughter, on the other hand, she can eat a pound of ground meat.
Every day.
Every day, So I needed to have that option, that I can switch things up. And I think it's been great.
Yeah.
You've been doing a good effort.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. To wrap it up, a question. What would you tell your, how old are you now? 30-ish? Something? 36?
Yeah. Let's make it public.
Yeah. 36. What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Oh, gosh.
If you could, rewind time, what would you go the same route? Would you do things differently? Would you take shortcuts? Would you implement things sooner? What should 20-year-old women ideally do so you don't have to go through 16 years of learning and making mistakes?
I would learn how to cook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good one.
I would learn how to cook, how to prepare, food at home. Mm-hmm. I would make the time to exercise. Mm-hmm. And try as much as you can to prioritize sleep.
Yes.
Because I sleep a lot. Like, seriously, like I could sleep 9 hours. Mm-hmm. I would prioritize sleep, learn how to cook, how to, like many people have to go to an office. Mm-hmm. Try to make time to prepare your food that you can take to the office.
Yes. Yeah.
And another very important that we haven't really talked about is sun exposure. Mm-hmm. I would change my
That's why
sunblock.
We are an umbrella.
Well, at least we have our feet, our legs now. No, but, I would change the sunblock that I would use on my 20s.
Yes.
You're traveling with your friends and you're going to the beach and... No, but I would not even try to use a sunblock, but if I'm going to the beach for a long time, and it's winter, and then I would, try to protect myself. Mm-hmm. But sun exposure, I've realized that it's so good for you. Yeah. Like when I'm sick, I come outside or I sit on the balcony. Mm-hmm. So I would tell my younger self to prioritize sleep as much as you can. I know that there is parties and college and all this, and you have to study, and then you're probably doing a part-time job. But I would try to learn a few skills, and prioritize sleep.
Yeah, that's a good one. Huh?
What about you?
Well, I would be radical. I would try to figure out how I can be my own boss much sooner than later. So instead of being employed working for someone, I would definitely avoid any traditional schooling and education and just learn stuff that I think.
But it's something that you kind of did. It's something that you kind of...
I'm very late. I mean, I would not... at 20, most of my formal education had already happened. But, if I could even, turn back time more, then I would, do something. I would probably go to a vocational school or something where I learn a trade, where I learn how to work with my hands, where I learn how to, how to take care of the soil, how to take care of animals, how to grow food, how to build stuff, how to repair stuff.
And then we would have never met.
Well, that's a downside. I agree. That is true. I probably would not even be in the U.S. I don't know where I would be.
No, but that's a good advice for,
Yeah, I mean, really, go back to the basics and really think about what humans have done for a very long time. It doesn't matter if you believe in evolution or not. However long you think humans have been on this planet, back in the days, in the early times, humans did things differently and did not suffer from all of those metabolic diseases that most of us suffer from today. And so take cues from there and avoid,
eating 8 burgers.
Yeah, going to the movie theater and eating, well, it was actually 10 cheeseburgers and a gallon of iced tea, sweetened, of course, with some M&Ms to wash it all down.
Yeah, you would.
Avoid those things and focus more on the basics, learn as much as you can. And yeah.
I just hope that the kids are going to watch this episode at some point in their
Well, they're hopefully watching us to a degree every single day, so they get a piece of that episode every single day, and one can only hope that they're gonna do something with it.
They will.
Yeah, because they're also homeschooled. We didn't talk about that. Maybe we talk about this in a future episode. But they literally see what we do, how we do, every single day, and so hopefully some of it will stick.
This was fun.
Yeah. So thanks for coming out to the backyard. And we shall do this again. I appreciate your sharing your insights, and
it was fun.
Subscribe, comment, everything. Engage people, so more people can see this episode and we can share the good news, gospel.
All right.